about that. I wonder if you've ever had a Bible study on exercise. I don't know that I have, and I've always kind of wanted to think more deeply about this. So in the Lord's good sovereignty, I'm getting to do this tonight and excited about it. And I think it's going to be helpful. It's going to be helpful for me. I hope that it's helpful for you all as well. Before we dive into that, just a few announcements. One final shameless plug for GFGs. I won't give you the whole sales pitch like I've been giving you, but they do start this Sunday. So if you do want to sign up tonight, if you've been on the fence, consider this the last little push. I'm pushing you over the fence, and you're ready to lock in. You can sign up. There's a few groups that still have openings back there, and you won't regret that. So last GFG call, trying to think of any other announcements. I was going to let y'all know that there are 2 blessing basket opportunities floating around. So the Treeses have welcomed their adopted son, Henry, and so you can sign up to participate in their blessing basket. And then also Tyler and Courtney Austin have welcomed their baby son, Drew, this week as well. So we're going to take them meals, and if you want to be a part of that, you can text my wife, you can text Candace, even though she's on vacation. I'm sure you can text her as well, and just sign up. I think they're on Facebook and online as well if you want to participate in that. Well, let's open up with a word of prayer. I've asked my brother Kevin McCaslin way back there in the back if he would lead us in prayer, and then we'll dive into our study. Amen. Thank you, Kevin. Well, our theme verse for our study, and we've had this. There were handouts in the back, by the way. I hope you have those. Our theme verse that we've started with every Wednesday night, just to kind of reorient ourselves at the beginning of this, is 1 Corinthians 6, 19 through 20. And it says this, "Or do you not know, Christian, that your body is a temple of the Holy Spirit within you, whom you have from God? You are not your own, for you were bought with a price. So glorify God in your body." Okay. All right, so the last couple of weeks, we've been thinking about how to do this in very practical ways. So 2 weeks ago, we talked about how to glorify God in your eating and your drinking. I hope you have not moved on from that as you've sat down at mealtime and thought about giving thanks to God and all that kind of stuff. Last week, we talked about how to glorify God in our work and in our rest. So I hope that some of you have had a renewed relationship with your work this week. Maybe if you were here last week, maybe you got up in the morning and instead of the usual just kind of drudgery heading into work, you thought, you know what, Lord, thank you for this opportunity that you've given to me. Thank you that this job aligns with a lot of the things that I'm able to do, the capabilities that you've given to me, the mind that you've given to me, the body that you've given to me. I want to go in today and give it my all. And maybe at the end of the day, you were able to leave the day behind or leave the shift behind or whatever your situation was or your to-do list and say, God, thank you for allowing me to do really good, meaningful work today. And I'm gonna leave that there and thank you for it. And maybe, I'm a little more skeptical of this, but maybe you were able to draw some boundaries in your life and your work and begin to carve out some ways that you might think about how to pursue just intentional rest and Sabbath patterns into your life that we talked about last week. So again, finding that balance of work and rest, that's not something that we're going to figure out in one Wednesday night Bible study. That's not something that we're going to figure out this week. But if you took that really seriously last week, I've had to think about it throughout this last week. It's something that it's going to just changing the rhythms of your life. And so continue to kind of steep in that, process that. Don't just move on. Continue to think about that. I would encourage you to do it. All right, well, tonight we're going to be thinking about something that also many of us do on a regular basis, or maybe we don't do it, but we know that we wish that we would do it, and that is health and exercise. All right, we're just going to poll the room real quick. There's no judgment at all. This is a safe place tonight. How many of you like to exercise throughout the week? Okay. I hesitate to ask this question, but if you'll own it, you just tell me. How many of you say, I haven't exercised in a long, long time, and I got no plans to? Okay? I see some hands. I hope that this is profitable for everybody on the spectrum here, okay? I recognize we're different ages, we're different stages of life, different, mobility, ability, the things that we can do, but I think there's something for us all tonight. All right, so let's open up with a question. I'll ask you this. What does our culture teach us about health and exercise? Maybe some of the wrong messages about health and exercise, but maybe even some of just the good and true messages. What would you say? Say that again, Alyssa. All right, it's very important, says Alyssa. Okay, all right, what else? It's deceiving? In what way, Corky? Yes. Yes, I think that's a very strong word. And there's so much external, like you're talking about, that communication, that if you'll do enough of this, take enough of these supplements, you can do all these things, okay? What else? Does our culture teach us about exercise and health? Okay. Especially if you're like trying to get a certain type of result. It's like, oh, you're doing it all wrong. You need to be doing it this way, okay? What else? You're doing great, Mr. Jim. Okay. That was at Elite, I assume, so we're going to give a shameless plug for Elite. All right. Love your body enough to live a healthy life. And Mr. Jim, by the way, doing pretty good. And he's getting after it at Elite. Just saying. All right. Others? Okay. If you want to live a longer life, this would be a good idea. I think that's generally true. Okay. What else? Y'all are doing great. Other messaging about exercise and health. Okay, it's therapeutic. I think we're going to talk about that in a little bit. I think that's very true. I don't want to get ahead of myself, but I agree with you. We're going to talk about that in a minute. It can be therapeutic in a good way and also maybe not in a great way. Okay, what else? Okay, yep. I agree with that completely, Paul. Yep. And Paul's like, but I don't feel ashamed. That's great. The culture tries to shame us if we don't do it. Would you say the culture over prioritizes exercise, under prioritizes it? So over, how so? Okay. Mhm. Yep, so it's the central part of who I am, and my identity is totally bound up in that. Yep, I think the world goes to an extreme level in that way. Was there something else being said, Christy? Yes. Sure. Sure. Sure, which I think is closely related to what Matthew's saying. There's just a lot of messaging out there to listen to, okay? Obviously, we've got our doctors. We trust them, but there's also, it's just kind of the wild, wild west these days. You can get on YouTube, and you can go down any rabbit hole you want and start doing anything you want to do and try it. Again, some of that stuff may be good, but it can become probably over the top, and I think we're going to be talking about that tonight as well. Well, let's kind of move on, and that first section, your first blank, there is a way to exercise to the glory of self. and there is a way to exercise to the glory of God. Okay, there's a way to exercise to the glory of self, and there is a way to exercise to the glory of God. Now, you may say, really? Are we really talking about exercise tonight? Are you guys really meddling with how I do my bicep curls in the gym? And when I say you guys, I include Pastor Eric, because this was partially his idea. Even though he's not here right now, he's in on this. I don't know if he's amening everything I'm saying, but he's with me on this, okay? So are you guys really meddling with how I do my bicep curls? Is there really a way to do planks to the glory of God? What do you think? Can you do planks to the glory of God? Okay, we're about to find out. Isn't this kind of excessive? I mean, thinking about how to exercise to the glory of God. One thing I love about Sharon Baptist Church and Pastor Eric is that he loves and we love to blow up compartmentalized Christianity, okay? So, I do church over here, but then I go out in the town this way, and I have my whole life in compartments, and God's in this compartment. But here we always preach that God is the Lord over everything, right? And really all of life is to be lived to the glory of God. Every day is to be lived to the glory of God, not just Sunday, not just Wednesday, not just when we're here at church, but even when we're out in the community, we're on the ball field, and even at the gym, even if you go for a run, that can and should be done for the glory of God. So we're going to be thinking about how to do that. So I want you to think about this. Every time you go to exercise, and again, for some of you may say, don't worry, I'm not going to do it. But for those of you, and you know who you are, you're going to get up in the morning first thing, and you're going to get after it. I see you. I know who you are. I want to ask you this, and I'm asking myself, what is it that motivates you to get up and get to the gym? What's the motivation? And what is it that motivates you to lace up the shoes and go for that walk or that run? What is that motivating thing in your life? So first, let's do this. Let's kind of tear down exercise to the glory of self. Exercise done in a worldly way, what that looks like. Let's kind of tear that down. And then let's try to build exercise back up in a way that we can do it in a way that glorifies God, okay? That's going to be my aim tonight. All right, so exercise to the glory of self. You guys tell me, how do you think exercise can be done to the glory of self? What would you say? Okay, I didn't hear it all, Stephen, but it's... Absolutely. So it's all about how I look. My happiness is completely bound up in how I look. And so I must do this to look a certain way. We're going to talk a ton about that. I think that's bingo, bingo, bingo. What else? Exercise to the glory of self. What does that look like? Do you say flexing in the mirror? Yep. You're just staring at yourself in the mirror. Again, we're going to talk about this. There's nothing wrong with wanting to look good. There's nothing wrong with peeking, but if you're just kind of standing there, oohing and awing over yourself, I mean, okay. All right. This is a very sensitive topic, by the way. I'm going to seek to just thread the needle here. What else? Exercise to the glory of self. What does that look like? Yes. So again, nothing wrong with wanting to be competitive, and like if you want to go be a great Olympian, or if you want to go, win the Catfish Derby 5K, that may have already happened. There's nothing wrong with wanting to do that, but if the sole focus is, personal best, personal goals, that's, I'm not thinking about anything else, then yeah, maybe we're kind of erring in that direction a little bit. Okay, what else? Yes. Yes. So can exercise become an idol? That's kind of what Dom was talking about earlier, where it's just all I think about, I live and breathe it. Okay. Anything else? I mean, I would never do this, but yeah. Yeah, so how other people view me, I feel like I want to, very similar, I want to look a certain way, okay? All that's wrapped up into it. All right, we could do this for a long time. Let's move forward, and we're going to talk about a lot of these themes. So number one, that blank there, exercise glorifies self, exactly what Stephen was talking about, when it becomes self-idolatry. All right, so Crystal and I, most of our married life, have had this online, on-demand streaming thing of workout programs. So it's like the Netflix of workout videos. It's called Body, B-O-D-I. I did one this morning, and it used to be called Beach Body. But it's basically all these trainers with all these workout programs. Anybody know what I'm talking about? Am I the only person in the room? Okay, some of you know what I'm talking about. And it's wonderful. I mean, I've done so many workouts over the years with these people, and I genuinely enjoy it. However, I always am kind of burdened for the trainer and the people that are leading it, because I can just tell, kind of through the screen, that they're all the things that we're talking about. We're doing this for different reasons. You're helping me get in shape, and I'm thankful for it, but we're doing this for very different reasons. They are completely obsessed with their body image. Their body becomes like a temple of self-glory, okay? Idolatry is worshiping the created thing rather than the creator, okay? So this is kind of weird. Some of you, again, would say this is crazy, but some of you know exactly what I'm talking about. When it could become where you're looking at yourself and you're beginning to worship what you're seeing in the mirror instead of the God who created you and gave you this body in the first place. I see a lot of that in, like, I mentioned that body thing because that's the workout culture that the world lives in, okay? I think that messaging that we're talking about that comes through social media, all that kind of stuff, that is all wrapped up into that, okay? It feeds the ego. That's what Matthew's talking about. That's why there's mirrors all over the gym, okay? Now, you could say it's to make sure your form is good. Certainly true. You want to look, make sure the form's good. But what else might you be doing while you're looking in the mirror? Somebody just tell me now. Come on. Don't be bashful. Don't act like you don't do it. Don said staring at somebody else, okay? You might be looking at yourself. You might be looking at how big those biceps are getting. And again, nothing wrong with wanting to pursue goals for your body and, to see some, be excited about that. But it could easily become, I hope I'm not making you uncomfortable, but maybe we need to be a little bit uncomfortable. It can easily become self-idolatry where you're beginning to worship your body instead of the God who created you. So I think we need to think about that, all right? Number 2, exercise glorifies self when it is obsessed with appearance. When it is obsessed with appearance. So this is where like Instagram culture comes in. Again, we've already talked about this. To be happy, your body must look a certain way. Okay, anybody else feel like that messaging comes across to you? You must be at a certain body fat percentage to be happy. Okay, there is pressure from our culture to conform to certain forms of appearance. All right, the problem with that is this obsession with appearance wrongly prioritizes the external over the internal, the external over the internal. So let's spend just a little bit of time talking about that. And a couple of scriptures to look at. 1 Samuel 16:7, the Lord has sent Samuel to anoint David. And Samuel comes and David has all these older brothers that are older. They look more the part. And the Lord says this to Samuel when he's going to go evaluate them. But the Lord said to Samuel, do not look on his appearance or the height of his stature. Any short guys in the house, can I get an amen? Don't look on the height of his stature, because I have rejected him. For the Lord sees not as man sees. Get this. Man looks on the what? On the outward appearance, but the Lord looks on the heart. I know that you guys know this principle, but I think it's really important just to take a moment as we think about this to realize that, again, even tonight, we're looking at each other externally. We tend to prioritize the external. Y'all are all beautiful and wonderful looking, but we judge the external. God sees the external, but what does God really care about? The inside, right? And I can see that manifest itself in your lives to sort of know the condition of your heart and sort of know the condition of your soul. It'd be my responsibility, it'd be Pastor Eric's responsibility to know that about you. But I don't really know what it's like on the inside, and you don't know what it's like on the inside for me. Man over-prioritizes the external. God looks on the heart. So we just need to have that mindset as we think about our pursuit of health and exercise. God cares much more about how I look on the inside than how I look on the outside. And is the time that we're spending, and we're going to get to this later, but is the time that we're spending more concerned with our beauty on the outside or our beauty on the inside? Okay, I think that's something we need to think about as Christians, because God prioritizes the inside. Psalm 147, 10 through 11, God says this, God's delight is not in the strength of the horse, nor his pleasure in the legs of a man. Doesn't matter how much you can squat, okay? But the Lord takes pleasure in those who fear him, in those who hope in his steadfast love, right? So if you think of some examples of physically impressive people, and they look really good on the outside, but if we really know them on the inside, they're really no good. Can you think of any biblical examples like that? Apparently, great appearance, looked good on the outside, but the heart maybe didn't align with that outward appearance. Can you think of any examples? I hear some whispering. Okay, the Pharisees certainly looked good externally. I don't know if they were in the gym, but they certainly had a self-righteousness. But behind that, Jesus says their hearts were corrupt. Who else? Absalom was, somebody's been doing the David study. All right, so Absalom apparently had it going on. He was the one with the long hair, right? Very built, very attractive. The Bible is not ashamed to say that, but his heart was no good. What else? Who'd you say? Satan, for sure, yep. I guess he had the appearance of that. King Saul is a great example. He's the one I wrote. The Bible actually says about King Saul, I wrote him down, quote, "There was not a man among the people of Israel more handsome than he." Saul was apparently the most handsome man in all of Israel when he was anointed as king. And it also says about him that he was a head taller than everybody else. So Saul had the appearance of that's why the Israelites wanted him to be that first king. But what about his heart in relationship to David? Whose heart was right before God? David's, right? So Saul didn't. I thought of Samson kind of in a similar way, okay? So we could think of a lot of biblical examples of people who externally maybe had it going on, but on the inside not so much. All right, obviously in our culture, there are tons of examples of celebrities that the world idolizes for their external appearance, and we can even get swept into that too, That's really silly because honestly, their lives are probably a dumpster fire. And would you really want to trade your life with any of these celebrities that have this, external glamour? They're probably miserable, almost all of them, okay? They don't have what you have, which is what the Lord's done in your heart, okay? So we can think of tons of, cultural examples. Crystal and I were laughing the other day about Gaston from Beauty and the Beast, okay? Somehow I bypassed all the princess movies growing up, so Crystal was systematically kind of making me watch all these. So we watched Beauty and the Beast a while back with the kids, and did anybody know what I'm talking about? Gaston? Okay. Some of you are all like, I have no clue. All right. But he's the big kind of macho guy in the story, and some of the lines there's a song about him. This is what it says. "No one's slick as Gaston. No one's quick as Gaston. No one's neck's as incredibly thick as Gaston. For there's no man in town half as manly, perfect, a pure paragon. You can ask any Tom, Dick, or Stanley, and they'll tell you whose team they prefer to be on." Now, if you've watched Beauty and the Beast, though, is Gaston really a good guy? He's about the worst human being that's ever been thought up. He's horrible. Man, I hate that guy. He's horrible. He's great on the outside, but I'm sorry, I shouldn't hate people. I love the Lord, and I guess he wasn't really made in God's image, so it's okay. But Gaston is a horrible human being on the inside, okay? But the world, again, we prioritize the external. You could probably think, we will not ask for examples, but you could probably think of people in your own life maybe who are externally, very good looking. But best of both worlds, maybe you're externally good looking and also have a beautiful heart. There's a category for that as well. So, but just think about that. Think about this external, internal difference. Appearance is not everything. All right, number 3, exercise glorifies self when it gives us the illusion of control and security in our bodies. Exercise glorifies self when it gives me the illusion of control and security in my body. So why do you think this is a dangerous mindset to believe that I can truly be in control and that I can find security in my body and all the things, minerals and things that Christy talked about? I've put in enough good. I've been to the gym enough. I've avoided enough of the right stuff, so everything's going to be good. Why might that be a dangerous mindset? Again, there's wisdom in it. We're going to talk about the good here in a minute. But why might that be dangerous? Okay, you can begin to think you're invincible. That may sound crazy to some of you, but I think it's true. I think that's very true, and I think a lot of you know exactly what I'm talking about. Right? So you can begin to think, man, I'm invincible. Nothing can happen to me. Now, why is that foolish? In Luke, yep. In that very night, his life was required of him. Yes, okay. So he had a security in that wealth and in the barns and all that kind of stuff. But we might find security in our body's well-being. Why else is that dangerous? That's right. So you may be doing perfectly great today, and it doesn't matter what you've eaten or what you've done at the gym. What could happen tomorrow? I could get injured before I go home today. I could get a cancer diagnosis next week. Now, God forbid, I hope none of that happens, but it's completely possible, right? So we can live under the illusion that none of that stuff can touch me because I've done enough good stuff for my body. Now, there's wisdom in taking good care of your body. We're going to talk all about this. But are you ultimately sovereign over your life? Can you 100% make sure that's not going to happen to you? No, okay? All right, so why else? Anything else? Why else might it be dangerous to find our security in our bodies or really seek to control our bodies to make sure it's a certain way? Absolutely. And if you feel very confident in yourself, who are you going to rely on? Yourself. But if you understand this principle that really my life is not in my hands, I'm going to do wise things. I'm going to be a good steward, but I can't control my health perfectly. Who do I have to cast my hope on? God, right? Okay, so I want to find my security and my hope in Him. So again, I think as Christians, again, and we're going to talk about the wisdom and stewardship of this, but I think we can flirt with this line of beginning to think that if I do enough of the right stuff, I can make sure 100% that nothing like that's going to happen. And that's just a false paradigm. The world would think like that as well, and that's also not true, okay? All right, so let's think about the necessity of exercise. So, okay, we've been bashing all this exercise to the glory of self. So does that mean that we should just avoid exercise altogether? All the people in the room that raised your hand in the latter half and said, that's why I don't do it. It's evil. All right, should we just ignore it altogether? Should we forget about health? Go home and eat as many Doritos as you want. God is sovereign over my life, and He'll take me when He's good and ready. Amen. We could read Ecclesiastes. That's the Proverbs, Ecclesiastes. Proverbs is like, do this for a wise life, and it's probably going to work out this way. Ecclesiastes says, yeah, but it's a fallen world, and you never know. You never know what's going to happen. So there's a balancing act for sure. Okay, so I'll let you decide how many Doritos you're going to eat tonight. But we should think about this, right? The necessity of exercise. I'm going to say that it is helpful, all right? God built, think about in creation, God built, designed, and created our bodies with the ultimate craftsmanship, So when God created the universe, all the amazing things that God spoke into existence, his crowning creation is the human body, is you and me. I mean, if we could spend a whole lot of time, I wish there was like a scientist or a doctor in the room, and I know you're here, and you could explain a lot of things about just how amazing our bodies are, that God created, how intricate they are. God created our bodies with the ultimate craftsmanship. That's why Psalm 139, 13 through 14 says, you know these verses, for you formed my inward parts. You knitted me together in my mother's womb. I praise you, for I am fearfully and what? Wonderfully made. You, Christian, are wonderfully made. We can talk about whether or not you love your body or your appearance or things like that, but you just understand God designed you just the way that you are. Kind of unlike everyone else. I mean, you may have a twin or you may have somebody else running the world that you look like, but there is no one just like you. God made you fearfully and wonderfully. That is such encouraging news, I think. The rest of the verse, wonderful are your works, my soul knows it very well. So God has designed our bodies to exert themselves, all this kind of stuff, but like everything else, our physical bodies have been tainted by sin. Okay, so we think about this creation and then fall, and what are the effects of the fall on our bodies? Do our bodies work the way that they should all the time? What are some evidences that our bodies are under the curse of the fall? We die. That's number one. And we're going to talk about that. I hate to bring you to the valley again, but yes, we will die one day, Paul. If Jesus does not return first, we will die. Okay, what else? Our bodies age. Now, you can try to reverse it as much as you want to. Some of that stuff's okay, but you're bucking against the inevitable, okay? I'm 34. I still feel kind of young, but it's happening. It's happening. I'm aging, and so are you, and there's nothing you can do about it. My little son, Asa, he's aging. He's aging, and he's going to keep aging. All right, what else? Say what, Matthew? your vision might go bad. Maybe you're born with 20/20, and the older you get, things are starting to come off the rails. What else? You can get disease, right? Anything else? Your hearing can go clearly. I see what you're doing right now because I can't hear anybody right now. Yes? Your hearing can go. Okay, so we could spend a ton of time just thinking about all the things that can happen to our bodies to where they are constantly kind of in a state of decay, right? They are deteriorating because of the fall. Romans 8:20-23. I put that in parentheses there. I'm going to read it to you. For we know that the whole creation has been groaning together in the pains of childbirth until now. So all of creation is longing to be set free from this bondage. Verse 23, not only the creation, though, but also we ourselves who have the first fruits of the Spirit. That means the Spirit of God lives inside of you. You have the first fruits of the Spirit. You're groaning inwardly as you wait eagerly for the adoption of the sons of God. So you're longing for this new creation, this new heavens and new earth. As we wait eagerly for adoptions as sons and the redemption of our bodies. So all of creation is longing to be made new, and our bodies, our spirits, our souls are longing to be made new in the new heavens and new earth, because the world was not supposed to be this way. Death is not natural. Decay is not natural. And in the new heavens and the new earth, futility and decay will be replaced with permanent restoration. So not only do we groan inwardly, but our bodies also groan. They are not what they once were. Can I get an amen? Your body is not what it once was. Because of the fall, our bodies will break down over time. We just discussed this. Now, can we reverse the curse of the fall? We cannot reverse it. The gospel will one day ultimately reverse it, but we can't reverse it in this life. Death and eternity will come for us all. But I do think this is part of the necessity of exercise. I do think there is wisdom as this process is happening to condition our bodies as best as possible so that we can still do the things that God has called us to do as we age, okay? So you can't turn back aging. You're going to age, but there might be things that you can do in your life to condition your body so that you're able to do things that you want to do for the glory of God in your 40s and your 50s and your 60s. And none of that's wrong. In fact, I think that honors the Lord to see it like that and to want to do it that way, okay? All right, let's think about this. Another reason exercise might be necessary. What cultural and technological changes have happened that might make exercise necessary today in a way that wasn't necessary 100 years ago or in the times of Jesus? I mean, what are some things that have changed that might make exercise more necessary today? Just basic practical stuff. What we eat. Carl's like, we're pounding Doritos, so we got to really work hard to get up. I do think that's part of it. I think food is very readily accessible. So if you were having to go out in hunter-gatherer mode and expend tons of calories just to get food, or even farming and agricultural, now, I mean, it's just right there in your pantry. So I do think that's part of it. The way we eat has changed. Okay, what else? Our lives are sedentary. That's your next blank. You can go ahead and write it. Our lives are likely far more sedentary than those of our ancestors. Corky, what do you mean by that, sedentary? Yes. That's right. So, no, please continue. Just to get the food in my mouth, that's all I have to do. It's good. All right, so let's just take a poll real quick. How many of you have and it's just, you can decide for yourself. How many of you have a pretty physically demanding job? You're up on your feet a lot. I see Laura Caldwell cleaning this building all the time. I can attest to that. You're up on your feet. You're getting steps. You're moving around. I don't see many hands, so you're either being humble or you don't think it, okay? Just being up on your feet. So we talked about Chick-fil-A last week. When I used to work at a daycare all day and then go to Chick-fil-A. I don't know what the step count was, but it was just all day kind of bustling, busy doing stuff. How many of you have a job that's not very physically demanding? Okay, I see you, Big D. So most of us are working on computers. We're able to do our work. Now, is that work still taxing? I think it is. We talked about this last week with the work and the futility of work. It's still exhausting mentally. It's still hard work, But is your body engaged in a lot of that work that you're doing? If you have an office job or you have a situation like that, probably not, right? So our jobs have definitely changed to where we're probably not getting. So like you said, if you're a farmer by trade right now, you're probably burning enough calories in your job and just working hard enough that you may not need to pursue some type of exercise in your life. You're doing that all the time. But for those of us who sit on the computer all day, there might be some wisdom, right, in doing that because our bodies were designed to move and being active, okay? Anything else? Reasons that culture and technology have changed to make exercise more necessary. Can y'all think of anything else? Yeah, that's right, Big D. One good thing about getting old, it doesn't last long. That's encouraging, brother. Thank you. I thought of technology. So if we were to go far enough back, I mean, we have cars. We have the ability to drive wherever we want. So if you had been alive during Jesus' time, you might be on a donkey or something. But I mean, you're walking a lot. So just technology is wonderful. Not bashing any of this stuff, but I do think it's changed the equation a little bit in the way that our bodies were designed. And so it might be wise to think about that and to seek to employ some of this in our life. So again, very contextualized, but it's going to look different for us than it did in biblical times or even 100 years ago. It's going to look different. All right, let's flip the page. Oh my goodness, somebody should have told me it was 7:15 because the best part's still ahead. Okay, we got to get going. All right, this is my theme verse for exercise. I love it. I've always wanted to think more deeply about it, and this is the chance that I get. 1 Timothy 4, 7b through 8. It's kind of implicit, but this is, I think, Paul's just best little explanation of exercise. Rather, train yourself for godliness, says Paul. For while bodily training is of some value, godliness is of value in every way, as it holds promise for the present life and also for the life to come. All right, now I love this verse because it teaches that bodily training is of some value. It is good. Amen? It is good. But training in godliness is of value in every way. So which one is superior in Paul's mind? Training for godliness, right? But is bodily training still good? Okay? All right, so I love that. All right, so first let's think about this some value. All right, so here's the value, some of the reasons that I think exercise is good. I'm just going to torch through this, okay, because we spent too long in the front. All right, the Bible affirms that bodily training is of some value. So I read a book, just a short little book in preparation for this. If you want to think more about this and you love to exercise, there's a guy named David Mathis, works at Desiring God. He wrote a book called A Little Theology of Exercise. I found it really helpful. It's literally like 60 pages. And I think if you want to think more about this, come ask me and I'll get you the title. But number one, bodily training is wise stewardship of the body God has given to us and will very likely enhance the quality and longevity of your life. Okay, so God is sovereign over our days. We're not going to die a day before God wants to bring us home. However, there is wisdom in us pursuing good health for the quality of our life, the longevity of my life. I'm going to be honest with you. Mr. Jim, I'm sorry, I don't want to embarrass you like this, but he's my goal in life. I mean, I look across the street, and when I'm his age, I want to be doing what he's doing. I want to have the health to live a long life. Is that bad? I don't think that's wrong. I think that's good, okay? So there's wisdom in that. All right, so what are some practical health benefits of exercise? God designed our bodies to move and to exert themselves, the muscles you have, the bones you have, the joints, the ligaments, the tendons. If you really think about it, it's kind of amazing how God has designed your body, and they're meant to be used. They're meant to be used. Exercise is good for our heart. It's good for our lungs. When you exert your body, you are doing what God has designed it to do. So again, we're not going to put our security in these things, but there is wisdom in being a good steward of the bodies God has given you. So think about it like that, stewardship. God has given you one body. It's the body that you're living in right now. How are you going to be a good steward of it? All right, number two, this is my favorite, I think. Bodily training serves to jumpstart joy and lift our spirits, right? So I don't understand the science behind this. I'm not going to go into some psychoanalysis. I don't exactly know how endorphins work and all that kind of stuff. I do know this anecdotally, that when I exercise, there is a boost to my mood. Has anybody else ever experienced this? I feel better. Now, whether that's just I accomplished something and I'm happy about that and that makes me happy, I don't know what it is, but it does. It boosts my mood. All right, there was a 4th century BC Hippocrates I think I'm pronouncing that right, medical doctor, very, very early ancient history. And he said, eating alone will not keep a man well. He must also take exercise. This is the 4th century BC. He also treated depression with a long walk, okay? And if that didn't work and he came back and he said, I'm still depressed, he would said, go on another walk. Now, again, I'm not going to say that there's not legitimate contemporary medicine for depression that is legitimate, but he was saying, man, it's good for the soul. It's good for despondency. If you feel down and discouraged, to get up and get moving. Charles Spurgeon, more recent history, this great English pastor, he said, a mouthful of sea air or a stiff walk in the wind's face would not give grace to the soul, but it would yield oxygen to the body, which is the next best thing. All right, so there's wisdom, and I don't think I'm alone in this. I think you've experienced that, and I think it's true too, that there is joy that is initiated. Now, my joy and my hope are in Christ. I don't have to be able to do those things to be joyful, but man, I want any edge I can to be happy in the Lord and to be joyful. And so sometimes it's just helpful for your joy to get moving. I think the way that our bodies and our souls are connected is kind of complicated, but they certainly are connected, okay? And when I rest, when I give my body rest, when I eat decently well, when I exercise, I am more likely to feel joyful, okay? If you take away those things from me, I'm more likely to be irritable. So the Spirit's really going to have to take over in those circumstances, okay? I hope this makes sense, but I think it can jumpstart joy in your life. Some of y'all are like, this is horrible. I'm not going to exercise. Please let me out of here. And for you, I'm very sorry. All right, number 3, bodily training makes me more readily available to serve Christ in whatever way he calls me to. I think this is the most important and the best motive for a Christian to exercise. So think about the word fitness. Fitness. What fit for what? What are you fit for? I think that word implies that there is something to be fit for. And that something is not to pose in front of a camera, okay? That's not what it's for. But for doing something to accomplish meaningful tasks in the world, okay? I'm not trying to hate on you if you're doing all these pictures and that stuff. That's not the point. The point is to do something with what you got, to do something with the muscles God has given you. Christians have a really good answer for what are you trying to be fit for? I want to be fit so that I'm available to serve Christ in any way that he calls me to. So I'm ready to spring into action and do the things that need to be done. So it's not a self-focused, it's, God, I want to do this so that I can serve you. I want to do this so I can serve other people. So the motive begins to change. All right, so that we might be ready for every good work, like Timothy and Titus talk about. I'm going to read this quote real quick. This is from that book from David Mathis. We want to be ready to move and display God in his world, ready with hands and arms that can reach and lift and pull and push, ready with feet and legs that feel life and energy in every step and spring with joy into blessing others, ready with minds, hearts, and wills that typically would rather move than lounge, that would rather be active than sit and watch a screen for too long, that would rather work to help others than to calculate how to move as little as possible. Okay, I hope that's helpful. Now look, we should say God can certainly use Christians of all stages, no matter what your ability level is. We could spend a whole lot of time talking about disabled people and how God uses them and floods their hearts with joy and uses them in powerful ways. But if God has given you ability in your body, God intends to use that to serve others and to serve him. So how are you cultivating that in your life? All right. Paul often uses bodily training as a metaphor to teach spiritual realities, okay? So some other verses, Paul loves to talk about running. I think that's why Pastor Eric loves to run. Bodily training, so these are all similar, but let's work through them. Bodily training promotes endurance necessary for the long haul. It promotes endurance. Hebrews 12, 1 through 2, some of our favorite verses. Therefore, since we are surrounded by so great a cloud of witnesses, all those Christians who taught you about the Lord, your grandfather who's gone home to be with the Lord, your Sunday school teacher, they're on the race path. They're cheering you on. Now it's time for you to run your race. You can do it. You can do it. Keep running. Keep running. Therefore, since we are surrounded by that great cloud of witnesses, let us also lay aside every weight and sin which clings so closely, and let us run with endurance the race that is set before us, looking to Jesus, the founder and perfecter of our faith. And it goes on from there. But exercise creates in me the ability to endure. And I want to do that spiritually as well. I want to endure in the Lord. All right? Number 2, bodily training promotes discipline that flows into other areas of my life, right? Before we read, this has got to be really quick, but how do you think exercise might promote discipline in other areas of your life? So discipline to exercise, and that kind of flows over and spills over into other areas. Has anybody ever experienced that? And if so, how? Okay, creates other better habits in your life, absolutely. Yep. Okay, I'm going to go to bed early because I know I've got to get up and do this. And then I'm going to get up early and get my day started right by doing this. Yep, and so everything, kind of the dominoes start stacking up. Okay, what else? Yes, I can do this. Yes, we're literally about to talk about that exact thing. I think it's so good, Christy. Anybody else? I find it to be true, again, a little bit anecdotal, but I think that when I'm disciplined in this area of my life, and I've done it both ways, trust me, it seems to flow over into other areas of my life, probably a little more spiritually disciplined, to spend time in the Word, spend time in prayer, do things that I really want to do, okay? So think about that. It creates discipline in your life. 1 Corinthians 9, 24 through 27, do you not know that in a race all the runners run, but only one receives the prize, so run that you may obtain it. Every athlete exercises self-control in all things. They do it to receive a perishable wreath. Think about how much LeBron James takes care of his body and sleeps in chambers and eats crazy stuff. He's doing it for a wreath, but the wreath that he's after is ultimately perishable. We Christians, we are working for an imperishable wreath, okay? So I do not run aimlessly. I don't box as one beating the air, but I discipline my body. I tell my body, you're going to do this. You're going to do what I'm asking you to do right now. You're going to keep running. You're going to lift that weight, and you're also going to serve Christ in all these other ways. So I'm creating this will, all right, in my life. It toughens your will. All right, bodily training promotes suffering by familiarizing myself with adverse circumstances. We're going to just skip through that, but there is some pain involved in that I think is good for you to help you endure pain in other areas in your life. All right, finally, bodily training promotes focus. This is what Chrissy was talking about, on the reward/goal/prize/finish line. Timothy 4, 6 through 8. I'm being poured out as a drink offering. The time of my departure has come. I have fought the good fight. Paul says, I have finished the race. I've kept the faith. Henceforth, there is laid up for me a crown of righteousness, which the Lord, the righteous judge, will present to me on that day. So like you, Christy, when I get to jog in the mornings, I got to jog this morning. I love to, when I turn on Dove Drive and I can see my driveway and I know that I'm getting close, literally almost every day that I do this, I love to think about the fact that I want to run through the tape. And I think about in my life that I want to run through the tape spiritually in my life. When I'm in my 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, I want to finish well. I don't want to get tripped up in my walk with the Lord. And so every day is like a little tiny exercise in run through the tape, Jeremy. Run through the tape, finish strong. So I think it trains us in all these ways, these physical realities that have spiritual fruit in our life. Okay. Man, y'all, we need about another 45 minutes, okay? So I'm embarrassed. I'm ashamed. I thought this was going to go short. Clearly not. All right, so we're going to have to work through this way too fast. The Bible also affirms that bodily training is of only some value. Bodily training has value for a limited time, while spiritual training holds value for eternity. Spiritual training is more valuable in this life. We can think Paul says spiritual training has eternal value. I'm going to argue that spiritual training actually has more value in this life than bodily training. Think about the things that you're pursuing. Are you spending more time training your body for physical goals, or are you spending more time and motivation training your heart and your soul in godliness? What's the main push there? Christ-likeness. I mean, think about if you bear the fruit of the Spirit. You have a peaceful home. You have a loving marriage. You have just all these amazing things that happen when the Spirit of God is residing in your life. What would you rather have? Would you rather be really, really godly, or would you rather be really, really jacked at the gym? Again, there's nothing wrong with wanting this, but man, it'd be a better pursuit, even in this life, to pursue godliness. Think about, some of y'all are serious. I know that you are, about getting to the gym and doing those things. Think about taking all that discipline that you put toward that, and what if you apply that to godliness? What if I apply that to godliness? What kind of spiritual gains, the sweat equity of that would be so much greater than the goals that happen from physical training. Spiritual training is more valuable in the life to come. All right? When you stand before the Lord, your body fat content will not be examined. Just a reminder. Rather, the quality of your spiritual life. All right? No matter how perfect you may be able to make your body look in this life, It will eventually wear out. We talked about that. We will all age, suffer tragedies, losses, eventually succumb to death. So Pastor Eric and I were joking about this. RFK and Pete Hegseth, one day they will not be able to do push-ups anymore, okay? If you know, you know. Like the rest of humanity, they will go the way of all the earth, like Hulk Hogan just did. Okay, I know it's sad to bring it up, but that's going to happen. And on that day, y'all, the condition of our souls is going to be so much more important than the condition of our core or our biceps, okay? All right, so exercise is important, but spiritual training, so much more. But obviously there's hope in death. Christians believe that will give way to the resurrection life. We'll have a resurrection body, no more aches and pains, and no more colds, no more COVID, no more fevers, no more sprains, no more heart attacks, strokes, or cancers. Y'all, both of my thumbs for this entire year don't work right. I don't know why. I was playing sports with some of you guys, and then something happened with my kids, and I'm just kind of being whiny right now, but I guess I'm getting a little bit older, and they won't heal. And I'll do something, and it hurts really, and it's very sensitive. I can't open things like I used to. What is going on? It's been like 9 months. My thumbs are going to be right again. I got to believe it, okay? And you can think about how that looks like for your life. All right, we're going to end right here, I promise. As Christians, we should move the emphasis of exercise from looking good to doing good. Let's move the emphasis from looking good to doing good. There's nothing wrong with wanting to look good, but man, I want to do good. I want to do good. That's why I get after it. All right, as Christians, we should seek to cultivate thanksgiving for the bodies God has given to us and the opportunity to exert them to the glory of God. So think about yourself tomorrow, getting ready. You're lacing up your shoes. You're walking to the gym. What are you thinking about when you walk in? God, thank you that you've given me. I'm not promised this at all. There may be a day where I can't do this, but today, because of your goodness, I can walk in and I can do this to the glory of God. So Lord, help me to do this. Help me to go on this run. Help me to lift these weights. Help me to do this workout today for the glory of God. Does that make sense? Change your motive as you go in. As Christians, our aim should be simply modest upkeep of our bodies for the purposes he has for us, okay? Our culture loves to prioritize the extreme. There's nothing wrong if you want to set some intense, physical goals, exercise goals for your life. Go do it. Go do it. Great. But I think to accomplish really what God is calling us to, we really just need to pursue modest upkeep of our bodies so that we can do good. And we'll end right here with this brother donkey. I'm using the word donkey instead of the other word that I could use. I'm going to let you fill in the blank. I didn't want to write it, and I don't want to say it. Okay, if you know that you know. All right, brother donkey. All right, this is this concept that C.S. Lewis talked about. He argued that man has had 3 views of the body. Number 1 is the aesthetic view. That word keeps coming up. Basically, the body's no good. I wish I could be set free from it. I wish I could just be spirit. Think about this in our technological digital age. I wish I could just escape into my phone and into this world, and this body's kind of holding me back. So bad view of the body. Number 2, idolatrous view of the body. Like we talked about earlier, my body's wonderful. I can't stop staring at it. It's so glorious and wonderful. Those are 2 extremes. Rather, C.S. Lewis says, let us pursue what St. Francis of Assisi said, which is the view of our bodies as brother donkey, okay? Which means, think about a donkey. All right, is a donkey kind of obstinate? Does it want to always get going? I don't have donkeys. I don't really know. Please help me. You have to what? You've got to kind of prod them and get them to do things in it. So sometimes you've got to kind of take your body and say, come on, body, get up, get going. We got something to do here. So it's kind of like that. But also the word brother communicates the usefulness of it, the sturdiness of it, the patience, the lovability of these bodies. They are beautiful because God has made them. So they're like a donkey. They can be really stubborn. They can be really frustrating, but they're also so good and so helpful and so beneficial. And so we want to have this balanced view of our body that sees it as like my brother donkey that is going to help me do all the things that God's called me to do. Come on, body. Let's get going. We got stuff we got to do to serve the Lord. So let's get up and let's get going. Come on. We can do this. Love you, man. Let's go. I know it's kind of weird to talk about your body like that, but let's not fall off the horse or fall off the donkey on the ascetic view, on the idolatrous view. Let's land in the middle. I know I've gone too long. Pastor Eric never does this, and he will be back next week, and you'll get out.